Hi everyone, welcome back to A Creatively Crafted Life. This is Melanie and today is another installment in my Use Your Collection series. And you're probably wondering, collection and little golden book, what's the connection? Well, I thought I would make two little junk journal type albums to store my various pictures of the animals, or the pictures I take of animals when I go to the zoo or I'm out on a hike, or whenever I take a picture of an animal. So I have two little golden books, the Big Brown Bear and Baby Animals, and I thought this would be super cute to store all the photos I have of baby animals, and this one would be a little bit more generic. Okay, so we're taking two junk journals, golden book style only. I think I'm going to use the rings. I'm not going to do a binding for them. Like sew in the stitches and stuff like I did for my Daily December album. So that's the plan with these. And then where the collections come in, so I have a couple of collections from Echo Park. I think they're both from Echo Park actually. Yeah. So I have Jungle Safari, which is a little bit more on the cutesy side of things. And I thought this would be perfect for the baby book or baby animal book. And then I have the chipboard for that as well. I got both of these Tuesday morning. So $5.99 for this one and $3.99 for that one. And then I also have Animal Safari from Echo Park, and so I have the kit, but then I also have the 12 by 12 paper pad. And I love this. They've got a card for every animal, and I don't think I have every single animal, picture of every single animal in my collection, but of photos I mean, but I'm sure I have a good chunk of them. So I thought that might be kind of fun to play off of that. I also have from that, I have the ephemera die cut pieces, as well as the frames and tags. So this one, I got lots of embellishments and stuff to go with it. And I also have the chipboard accents. So I've got quite a bit to go with that. Now, I don't know if this is going to be enough per se, so I think I'm going to go through my stash at some point and maybe pull out some other papers that maybe coordinate with this and flesh it out a little bit. I'm not exactly sure how that's all gonna roll out at this point. Obviously with this one, because I have more papers, I'm more likely to use those, and they do have a white side on here, which is nice. It gives me a little bit of flexibility. So yeah, so anyways, that's the plan. We're going to do two books and use up the two collections. And then it'll just be as I have photos and information and stuff along the way that I will fill in the books. I think that's kind of how I'm going to go. Some other things that I'd like to incorporate are like pockets and maybe some journaling cards, you know, all that kind of goody stuff. But for today, I think what I'm going to do is just focus on getting these albums started and using the collection papers, get them all put together so that I've got a good solid base. So let me get started. So the very first thing I am going to do is I'm going to take this book apart, and I'm pretty sure I want to keep this edge in the book, and a lot of people will cut that off, especially if you're doing rings, but I think I can add a little bit of reinforcement on it, and it just gives me a little bit more page space. So this is, what is this? This would be 6.5 by almost 8, maybe 7 and 1, 2, 3, 7 3/4. Yeah, about 7 3/4. So I really would like to keep as much of this in here as possible. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is take these books apart, and I am going to try and pry up the staples that are in here. So you can feel them when you run your hands. You can feel that there's two staples. So I'm just taking an X-Acto knife and just cutting through the foil cover just to see if I can locate them, which I have, which is good. That's there. I'm not trying to preserve this part of the spine. Like if it gets, you know, wrecked, like it is going to get wrecked, I'm okay with that, because we're going to put some sort of reinforcement over here anyways. So right now I just want to expose the staple so that I can, you know, pry it apart and take the book apart. My thought is to keep the inside of the pages with the album. I think it's kind of fun to have that mix. So if I can keep them, then that would be perfect. You can tell these are a little bit older books. The staples are actually a little bit rusted. Okay, so I've exposed that. Now I need to take something that will pry that up. If you had some sort of staple remover, that would probably be helpful, but I don't have one. So I'm just going to use my craft pick here, my pokey tool, and just kind of pry up the back of the staples. And please be careful if you're doing this that you don't cut yourself. It's my my public service announcement. Probably should wear protective goggles. Okay, so now that I've got that, let me just see if I can pry this apart. Oh, I also slit down that. I also used my X-Acto knife to slit down the middle of this so that it would come apart easier. Okay, so there's the cover, or the back cover. This should come out pretty easily. Maybe. Okay. And then let's see if we can pry these out. Okay. Now, this book is a little dirty, which is to be expected. So I'm just going to take a baby wipe, something not too wet, and just see if I can clean this up a little bit. Okay, it looks a little better. So as I talked about reinforcing the spine, I just took another golden book that I'm not going to make into a journal, and I cut 3/4 of an inch, and we are just going to affix that on top of here to give this some stability. I want to cover this with paper before I glue this down, because I want to wrap the edge, I think. That's the plan. So the first thing I want to do though is mark the holes and get those situated. And you will need a punch that's a little bit more powerful. This is a We Are Memory Keepers. I believe it's the 1/4 inch. Yeah, it's a 1/4 inch. I like to open up the little window or the little flap here so I can see exactly where I'm punching. Okay, so I'm going to put the covers aside for now. I don't want to glue these down, and I don't want to cover these because I know I'm going to have scraps, and I'd rather use scraps to cover them than cut into a big piece of paper and not know or not be able to use it in the book. So as I mentioned before, the cover is about 6.5 by 7 3/4. So the pages I am going to cut down to 6 1/4 by 7 1/2. So that should give me a 1/4 inch around the sides, which is my plan for now. The inserts, they are stuck together, so I think I am going to trim those apart. I don't see why I would keep these in, because I'm not going to keep them as signatures. So I'm just going to trim these down on the inside seam here so that these equal 6 1/4 wide. So my next step is going to be taking the pattern paper and trimming these down to 6 1/4 by 7 1/2. And in interest of getting the most pages out of here, I think I'm actually going to cut these down to 6 by 7 1/4, I think. So some pages will be bigger, some pages will be smaller, and I'm okay with that. The other thing I need to look at are the cut aparts and see if I want to keep these or not. So I'll have to consider that. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to keep the cut aparts. So these are going to, I'll be trimmed down to 6 by 7 1/4. So I made my first mistake. So this paper has an orientation this way. And the first sheet I cut 7 1/2 or 7 1/4. Instead of doing this, I cut it off of this way. So when I cut my paper, I now have 6 by 7 1/4 that looks like this. Now this happens to be a floral, so it's okay. It's going to be all right. And the back side is a dot. But just so you keep in mind when you're doing this, that if you've got something that needs to go in a particular orientation, that you're keeping that in mind while you're trimming this out. So much better. So here's an example where orientation is going to matter for sure. So I want to cut this at 7 1/4 in this direction, so that when I turn and cut the 6-inch wide ones, they're going to be in the right orientation. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, so a couple other things that I pulled are some doilies. Now these are pretty thin. I think this is actually 2 of them. These are very thin. So what I thought I would do is fold them in half, like so. And then punch holes in this side so that it is a little bit more sturdy. It's still going to be a little bit delicate. And then I may put like a washi strip or something along the edge wherever I punch the holes just to reinforce. I'm not sure about that yet. So I'm thinking maybe about 5 of those in each book. I also have some envelopes that were they kind of got messed up a little bit somehow. They were cheapy ones. So what I'm going to do for these is I'm going to seal them closed and cut off the top, and they will become pockets. And I think I have 8 of those, so probably 4 in each. And then I have some postcards that I've collected when I was in Australia that I never sent to anybody. Now these all will probably more than likely end up in, not the baby animal one, but the other one. And then I do have this fairy penguin note card that I think will end up in the baby animal one. So let me punch holes, get this all assembled, and then I will show you where I am at. Okay, so to cover these spines, I picked a piece of coordinating, or not necessarily coordinating, I picked a piece of my scraps that I thought would coordinate well with the cover. This is probably as good as it's going to get. So these were 3/4 of an inch. I trimmed these out to 2 inches with the idea being that I'm going to be able to wrap these. So I am going to affix some tape down the middle here, attach that, score, fold, and then attach it again, and then that should take care of that. So then it will get attached to the front like this. Originally I thought to maybe wrap it around this edge, but I don't know that I'm going to do that. But before I attach this, what I'm going to do is cover the inside of the page. There's nothing spectacular. So I'm going to cover this, and maybe then I'll wrap it around and then sandwich this on top. I think that's going to be the easiest way to deal with this. And I think I also want to cover the back of the golden book. So this is going to be double whammied. I will probably use score tape for most of this, and I will be back to show you the results. Okay everybody, so plan B. So I don't think I need the reinforcer on both of these. By the time I covered the cardstock on both sides of the back, it's pretty strong, so I don't think I need to do the back side. So I think what I'm going to do is just cover the front, and that is it. So that's cool. I just used really thin score tape to fold this over, and that's basically all I did. So that is that. Let me finish the cover and I'll be back. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This is definitely very sturdy now. The inside will be just plain green. I can always dress it up with something else. I have this extra piece. I think I might just add it to the back just to kind of tie the two together. I think that looks pretty smart. And then this cover will be done. And then I have my stack of papers. I'm just going to intermix them and put them on a ring binder, and I will show you how that looks. Okay, so the two base books are done. This is how I completed the little baby animal one. The layout's pretty much exactly the same in that I just spread out the solid cards, or like white cardstock, with the pattern cardstock, with an envelope, you know, and then the lace. I'm still a little worried about how delicate this is. I might just put a little piece of washi tape or something there yet. I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. The ones that have the cut aparts on the back side that I don't like, I'll probably end up doing a full picture on there just to cover it up. I also need to cover the back of these envelopes, and I have, because of how it looks. So it's either going to be a full photo or some more pattern cardstock. So that's basically how that one looks. And like I said, this one is exactly the same kind of idea, except I threw in the postcards periodically. This one has a lot more white cardstock backs because the cardstock I used was only single-sided. I didn't actually break out the full-on pack, this one here. I left it as is. I'm just going to put this one back in my stash because I don't think I'm going to need it. Although it has some different patterns. I don't know. Well, maybe I'll keep it out. I don't know. We'll see. But I do have quite a bit of scraps left, right? Because the paper was significantly smaller. Oops, this is solid cardstock. I could go in and decorate some of the single, like the white sheets, just, you know, as base pages, but I think I'm going to leave it. I think I'm okay with just leaving it. So this is going to go in with my project stuff. This is all I have left from the 24 sheet, or not the 24 sheet, from the 12 by 12 paper pad, just basically the cut aparts. So that is that. And I think that's all I'm going to do for now. I'll go print some photos and maybe do a couple pages and show you kind of the idea of what I'm hoping to accomplish with these albums or with these books. So let me go do that. Okay, so let me show you the start that I've made in this book. So this is the big brown one, so the general animal book. I left a few pages for the letter A because I cut out all the all the cards with the alphabets on there. So my thought is that if I have a picture of the animal on the card, then I would incorporate that. But really it's really just representing the letter of the alphabet. So then any photos that I have that fall under, let's say E, would go here. So even though this is elephant is the card, it's not just going to be elephant. I could put my emu pictures there, for example. So, so I have the first one I have is bear, so the letter B. These little stickers here are from Citrus Twist. I had plenty of them to go through the whole alphabet. And then I'm just picking some label stickers in my stash just to indicate where the picture was taken and when. And then I've got, for instance, cheetah. Let me zoom you in here. Let's see this a little better. So there's my bear photo. There's my cheetah photo. This was really cool. You'll notice he's on a leash, and actually we were just looking at him, and him and his trainer was walking out at the same time, and they actually keep dogs, or they partner dogs with the cheetahs, and they get along really well. Who knew? Anyways, and so then these animals are for education, so they go around to schools and stuff like that. I think it's schools, and educate people on cheetahs and their habitats, etc. Okay, so then elephant, this one here is one of those envelopes that I made even bigger, and I just stuck a piece of paper in here for now to indicate that there is a pocket. So other or elephant photos I will just slide in there as a tag or a tab. So that's that one. This piece here is not complete. Obviously I'll put a photo or something over top of it to cover that up at some point. Then I have my flamingo picture. And then for giraffe, the card was actually big enough to fit in this way, which I quite like how that is. I can either add a photo on here or maybe a quote or something about animals, who knows. And then this is the paper doily that I folded in half, and I just glued this on top, and then I will have another photo on the back, I think, probably, or a 4x6 card, and that should make that much more stable. And then I've got Hippo, and for this I added washi tape. I tried to line it up as best I could. Does a little trick on your eyes for sure, but I've only got a little bit on there. And then the last one that I did was kangaroo. So this is a postcard that I had bought when I was in Tasmania, and again, one of those cards I put on this side, and then the picture of the kangaroo is on this side. So that's as far as I've gotten for now. I obviously have to go through all my photos and search for animal photos. Some of them I've got tagged, others I don't. But that's the start of the book. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you are inspired maybe to start a little book yourself and use one of your collections to initiate that, and get some more photos scrapbooked. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, happy crafting.